No, there isn't a lot of time. The last decade of my life went like this.
All right, welcome to another episode of You Incomplete Me. We are fully complete with Max today.
Yes.
And Ryan had an idea. You want to share your idea for today?
Yes, I thought a good topic for the episode of this podcast and Max would be, what piece of advice would you give to yourself when you're younger? If you could go back in time, and obviously you did the best you could with your life, but knowing what you know now, go ahead, Max, say what you need to say.
What would you say to yourself when you were younger, Max? Like 2 months ago.
He's not even forming consciousness yet. Well, I'm not trying to paint on your canvas, dude, but anyways, yes, the best piece of advice you would give yourself if you were younger. If you can go back in time and you were sitting next to
Are we
Maddie.
picking an age?
You know what? Let's just say younger usually means like high school,
Like
right? Like you're kind of, high school is where you really start to form those formative years where you kind of start forming passions and friends and work ethics, those type of things. But anyways, what piece of advice would you give yourself if you were younger?
Okay, like 16-year-old me? That's like a tough question. That's a tough question. You told me that like 5 minutes ago, and I was like, oh my God, I have nothing that pops into my head. I need to think. Still haven't had time to think. So I'm just going to spit some bars and see what happens, see what
Yeah.
comes out of my mouth. So I think on the practical side of things, I would say put yourself out there more, network more, right? Spend time with teachers or be in more clubs, stuff like that, just to learn communication skills better and have a more in-depth network, which I feel like I haven't had and I didn't get until we started business, and we're still working on kind of backtracking because that was never a main focus. So that practically, Max, I don't know how Max feels about that. Is he too noisy?
No, he's fine.
He's
He's
good?
fine. Just keep doing your thing.
Okay. Mr. Max. So, practically wise, yes, I would say put yourself out there more, do more activities, more clubs, talk to more people. Because I was very shy. I was like the weird nerdy girl that had a rolly backpack, and I would just rush to class because I didn't want to be late, and I'd run over people's feet. So I wasn't very cool or out there. So that'd be the first thing. I think that would, propel me to further to where I am right now.
I've asked this question a lot to people, and they're like, I don't regret anything, right? But if you were to go back, you'd like tell your younger self, invest in Bitcoin, right? Like, so,
This person won the Super Bowl.
yeah, like you would tell yourself something, right? So when people say, I have no regrets, obviously, because that's how you move forward. You can't live with the past. But if I were to talk to my younger self or give advice to my younger self, it would be very different because as a young man, I was very much in my head. I was full of anxiety, full of stress, full of issues, like just getting bullied. I was just, the best way to put it is, I was just a loser. Like I lost at everything. And I was just losing at getting good grades. I was losing with my body. I was overweight. I was losing with my friends. I felt like I couldn't connect with people properly. My parents were always working and busy. So like I was alone in my head all the time. And young Ryan eventually figured it out, was you had to eventually like yourself and love yourself.
Imagine that.
But the thing is, it's not, it's the thing is female depression and male depression is handled the same way. When females get with each other, they talk about it and then they feel better. I guarantee you, if I talked about my stress and anxiety, then I would still have it, right? Mm-hmm. So what really worked for me was, if I were in a group of men, I would say, let's go accomplish something. Let's go do something. And then after we've done that something, then we feel better. So I would tell younger Ryan, go do something with your life. Don't sit around. No one is going to save you. Your father's not going to save you. Your friends aren't going to save you. Your mother's not going to save you. No one will save you. Only you can. So your ultimate goal is to just get moving with life.
What does that mean tactically?
So practically is, most people attribute to success money, right? Most people attribute happiness to money and a big house and fame and accolades and this and that. And I've been lucky in my life. I've been able to have some success, not to the degree I want it, and I think it will always evolve. But what I think is the ultimate level of success is ownership of your body. Like when you are physically proud of yourself, it translates to every area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it feels like to be overweight and full and bloated and eating way too much and then eating way too little. You're just not in control of your body because you're not in control of your mind. So, what I would tell younger Ryan is just start running. That's it. I won't even tell him to do anything else. Like, you can do push ups, do this, do that. Just start running, sweat every day. And then, after he develops that work ethic, then I would start to expand it. Now that you sweat every day, now I want you to start measuring your calories.
Right.
And then that would be tough for him at first. And then he would learn that habit, and that's like brushing your teeth. And then I would add more onto his plate. But at first, you can't go from white belt to black belt.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to learn how to get a six pack. It took me a long time to learn how to get to that. And if I were to tell him how to get a six pack now, he wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes a lot of work ethic. And I just say just practice practically first in the physical realm.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good advice. I think you figured that advice out by yourself, and I think if you can go back in time and say it to younger self, you could have started it earlier. I would kind of say the same thing. I struggled with food and body image for so long. I think I would say to my younger self, go get like a personal trainer, go get some type of nutrition coach so I could learn that faster, because I know you struggled and I struggled and we struggled for decades trying to figure it out ourselves. And imagine what we could and where we could be and what we could have accomplished if that wasn't on our mind for so long. And we had so much more free space to think and to envision our future and stuff like that. So I would say probably for younger me, definitely go invest in like a coach or some type of nutrition counseling just to learn and get that out of the way, because I don't think parents really teach us that stuff, right? And mostly because they don't know themselves because they weren't taught. But I wasn't taught what a healthy plate should look like. I wasn't taught how to eat for performance and eat to feel good, right? I was just taught, finish your plate because there's children starving in Africa, right? And you'd watch your parents go for seconds or eat cookies on the counter while they cook dinner. Like, you learn these bad habits with food, and you just take so much time to unlearn that I think that would be something that could really fast track me, and I mean you too. But on the other hand too, it's a double-sided sword, right? Like, because we did struggle with the food and the eating, it also helped us open our business, right? What we learned, we learned it in our own way, so we were able to help people in a unique way that's not on the market. So it is that double-edged sword of, do I regret it? No, like you said, you can't regret it because life moves forward. But I wonder sometimes if I had already figured out how to be the healthiest me, where would we be right now?
Exactly.
Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, that's the thing is, and that goes back to the point of regret. You can't, because I'm so all I can think about is betterment. Like, that's growth. That's all weight loss is. When I'm talking about an overweight body or a fit body, I'm not talking about a body, right? What I've learned over time that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the body. I'm talking about mindset. When I talk about business, I'm not talking about business and money and connections and network. I'm talking about mindset. And I'm
Yeah.
so passionate about it. I know so many people that are passionate about different things, right? So I know people who are passionate about cars. That's all they can think of and talk about, right? I know some people who are passionate about video creation. That's all they can think and talk about, right? And I am so passionate about health and growth and self-help, because it is just that's all I think about, right? It's
Yeah.
so freeing to me, right? Like, health is a great equalizer. It doesn't matter what age you are, what creed, religion, wherever you come from, it's an equalizer. That's why I love business. It's an equalizer, right? That's why I
Yeah.
love marriage. It's an equalizer. It doesn't matter what your preconceived notions are. If you do this, it's like laws of the universe. If you do this, you will get this. I promise you, if you fix your health, every area of your life will get better. Right? I promise you that if you fix your health, your marriage will get better. I
Mhm.
promise you, if you are a leader in your health, your business will get better.
Yeah.
Right?
And like really fix it, not just post about it on Instagram. right? Because you're like, it is an equalizer, but we forget that because we're looking at everybody's lives through a screen, and then we wonder why we are where we are when really they're not even where they say that they are. And I think that's important to note because if we are trying to be better in every area, how have you actually been measuring better, right? Because it looks better, but do you actually feel better? And I think we forget about that.
And everybody's definition of better is different. And that's okay,
Yeah.
right? That's okay. But I promise you, if you set a goal and you actually set a goal that you mean to achieve, you'll get to it and then you'll want more, which is awesome about
Well,
goals. Right?
that's the cool thing about goals. When you're about to hit your goal, you've already created a new goal. So you never actually hit goals.
Yeah.
And you're never actually satisfied because as soon as you're close to the one you first set, you've already grown so much as a human, you've set an even bigger one. And it feels the exact same. It feels just as untouchable as the very first small little one did.
Yeah.
And that's the fun game. And that's, you just have to accept that. You have to accept the always feeling less than, but also at the same time feeling so proud with how far that you've come.
Yes,
That makes sense.
That balance of gratefulness and then momentum, right? I have this conversation with high-level entrepreneurs all the time is you're supposed to set goals. We're going to have an 8-figure company. You're going to get a six-pack. You're going to have this, whatever you're setting out, you're going to hit it. You have one meal at the table of success, set another one. Most people get to the table of success, sit there, and then they hate their lives. I know so many successful people that hate their lives. I know so many people that have marriages and they suck. They're not constantly going on adventures. They're not constantly doing new things. I believe our marriage has so much depth and so much meaning because we're married now. Okay, get fat, get lazy, done.
Yeah.
Right? We're like next. What are we doing next? And I'm not afraid to push you and vice versa, right? And so what happens is we sit at the table of success. You're like, I made it. And then you get this condescension to you, right? You become this distant character that nobody likes. That's why I don't like
unrelatable.
I don't like
unrelatable.
actors. They're kind of like there's weird plastic dolls that they're not relatable, right? And I've learned this over time because I used to think talking about how much money you made and how many accolades you have and how many women you've been with was cool. But then it's like unrelatable. And I never meant to come across that way. It's just that that's what you think people want to hear.
Mhm.
But in reality, people want to hear your come up, how you failed, how you were a loser, how you were obese, how you were this, how you were that, right? We just actually had our 100-year anniversary for our family company. And my father did the speech for it, and he got a standing ovation. And he got that standing ovation because we made him practice 100 times in front of us.
So many times.
But he was like, oh, he wanted to talk about how he flies business class and this and that. We're like, no. Talk about how the first time you designed your product, it exploded.
Yeah.
He had
how he doesn't English wasn't his first language.
Yeah.
And he still was able to make, a multi-million-dollar business in Canada.
Yeah. And he got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Right. And that was powerful to me. Right. And I learned so much from the outside in. And then I learned those principles for myself. Right.
Mhm.
Always talk about what you're going through so you're relatable. You're not this weird, distant plastic doll. Right. That's perfect. Because I think we're both far from it.
And nobody has everything figured out. And so I find sometimes a lot of the influencers will speak as though they do. And I don't think that hits a lot of people in the heart. And so they're missing an opportunity to be impactful to their audience because, if you document your journey, like you document as you're growing, the troubles you face in your marriage and how you overcome them, the trouble you face with your kids, how you overcome them, the money problems you had and the strategies you overcame those with. Like if you talk about and document your journey instead of speak from a place of I'm at the top of the mountain and I've already made it, I think that you can just help so many more people. And that's just even in day-to-day life. I'm not even talking about, from business person to business person, talking to our clients, just day to day. If you talk about what you're going through, then other people will want to be more open and honest with you instead of hide because you make them feel less than, or they feel like they're embarrassed, they're ashamed of their struggles because you've got it all figured out. Because all we do is hide our struggles and we hide what we're going through. And then we like to share it after the fact, right? I overcame this. But what if we talked about while we were trying to figure it out and we maybe didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel?
I think there's a flip side to that as well, is if you really want to embody being a leader, you can't show weakness. It's not that you can't show weakness, it's that there's a time and a place for it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, we're not
It's a
crying and word vomiting, and every conversations is not a you're losing your shit, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Help me.
so there's a flip side to always talking about your story and the negative aspects of your life. Like when you're in it and you're in the trenches and you're actually trying to build a business and a team and a life, you can't be like, oh, I can't make payroll this week. Your employees be like, what the? You can't make
Can't
payroll?
rely on you.
Yeah, like you can't make payroll this week. I work with you, right? So not only will they start to lose faith in you, eventually they won't be with your company. So like there's nuances to it as you grow in life and what position you are in, right?
Yeah.
So when we were delivering Max and you were grabbing onto me and you're like, this is the hardest thing in my entire life, right? It was difficult for me too, but I'm not gonna go, this is so difficult and so hard. I was like, no, you can do this, right? So there's a time and a place when you can show weakness and show strength,
Mhm.
right? I feel like we've gotten to a place in our society where we show way too much weakness. We love to throw the word anxiety around and stress and depression, right?
Well,
You,
it's like the oppression Olympics. Like I have my life's harder than your life, and this is how. And it's like, how does that improve your life?
it's a big turnoff for me. It's a big turnoff for me because I'm not invalidating what you're going through. I've gone through it and I've felt what you felt, like depression and feeling like a loser and feeling stress and anxiety. But how is saying that helping you
Mhm.
all the time?
Mhm.
Talking about it all the time, right? Maybe if we had a mental aim in life for something positive, positive emotions would come out of it. Negative emotions are there for a reason, right? We have this gut feeling,
Yeah.
a gut feeling about people, right? We have this gut feeling about a situation, and then we get thrown off. We're like, oh, I have anxiety. No, your body's trying to tell you something's wrong.
Yeah.
Your mind is trying to tell you something wrong. Usually I have the most anxiety and stress when I've eaten like shit, when I haven't done the work I said I was going to do, and when I haven't performed the best, knowing what I need to do and I haven't done it.
Yeah.
That's usually when I start to have anxiety and I start to have stress.
Imagine that.
Imagine.
It's funny.
Um,
I think there's a psychological trick, or I don't know what to call it, but it's like if I say don't think of a red balloon, what do?
Think of a
You
red
start
balloon.
thinking of a balloon, right? So if you keep saying like I don't want to be anxious and I don't want to be depressed, well your body doesn't hear the I don't want to do part. The universe doesn't hear the I don't want to part. It hears the anxiety and the depression part. Right? So even if you're saying kind of the right things, like I don't want to be this way, but I feel this way, but I don't want to be this way, the universe still just feels the words that you said, not the intention behind the words. Right? So words, we say this all the time. It's called spelling for a reason. They cast spells. And I think it's so important. And that's something that we are doubling down with each other on right now, is really correcting each other's words. Because one word, we were listening to, I don't know the book, the other book by Napoleon Hill. Is it Law of Success?
Okay.
Yeah, one of
I'm
the
not sure.
Napoleons. Yeah,
We listened to so many books.
and yeah, basically the concept. I hope I don't butcher this, but the concept is, everything that you say and everything that you think is energy that goes out into the universe. And if we look at the concepts of physics, energy is never, it's not created or destroyed, right? So thoughts never go away.
Oh.
So every thought you've ever had is floating around somewhere as energy. And once you say it, once you put it out there, you cannot take it back. And it's because energy is constant, it's forever there. And so if that's the case, if you've, been building up, putting out all this negative energy unintentionally, if the ratio is off, and think about yourself, like what's my ratio right now? How much good stuff do I say? How much bad stuff do I say? How much neutral stuff do I say? And neutral is also bad.
Yes.
It's not good.
Yes.
So if there's an imbalance there and that's floating around and you feel unlucky and you feel like life's not on your side, it's like your ratio is off. Now you have to intentionally put more energy into the universe of the positive side, because it's floating around there and every single thought never goes anywhere. It's still there. So if you thought you were ugly and fat when you were 16 years old looking in a mirror, that thought and those emotions and that negative energy is floating around. And so
You have to outweigh it.
we can't get rid of it. It's too late to get rid of it. And also you're going to have more negative things to say in the future, because that's just life, right? It's going to happen accidentally. And also, there's not so smart people in the world who will never take this advice. And so we are fighting against all this negative, the unintentional that you do, the intentional that you do, and then all the negatives that the people who aren't paying attention do. So we're being bombarded with all this negative energy floating around. And so it's your responsibility not to just change the ratio of the negative to positive in yourself, but also go so crazy and extreme on that positive, productive energy that it's also helping to kind of save the world,
Yes.
to help the world's ratio, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think we often think one person is too small, I can't make a difference. And that's just not true. Right? Like think of like if you can change the world and you can actually be positive, that you can actually change the world by just thinking positively and trying to help the world.
I've learned over time that I'm very polar. I'm very positive or negative, right? And I have learned over time how to harness the positive more. I have to have a definite chief aim in life. I have to be working towards something. And so I asked myself, then what do I have to be working towards? Because there's so many facets in life, right?
Mhm.
There's friendship, and then there's, there's money, and then there's health, and then there's marriage, and then there's this and that. And so I have learned that there's 3 areas in life, and I created a definite chief aim in those 3 areas.
Yeah.
And anybody can mix and match these, but this is what I've learned is there's health, relationships, and wealth, right? So for my health, I have a definite chief aim to always be walking around with a 6 pack. Every time I'm thinking about my health, I'm focusing on that. Hey, listen, there's some times where I'm gonna fall off and I might have a burger one day. But the other 6, 7 times, I'm focusing. So, like you said, there's more positive outweighing the negative. So I am more this person than that.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when you have a definite chief aim in life, you have one door you're focusing on, and other doors tend to close,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Other doors tend to close just naturally. They fall away. People take you more seriously, right? And so your time stops getting wasted. And then over 10, 15 years, I'm like, wow, look how far I've come, right? When most people would see, oh, you have a multi-million-dollar business. It just happened overnight. It took so long to focus and be the type of person physically I am today.
Yeah.
And then even finances, I'm like, I want to build $100 million company. So that's all I think about. That's all I think about. How do I create that? How do I become the person to create that? How do I have the marriage to create that? How am I able to create a business that impacts people and helps people to create that? Right? And then the same thing for relationships. I'm going to have my longest term goal my entire life is that the last thing I'm going to see before I die is you. So all I think is how do I make sure I can have that long-term vision?
Yeah.
So everything I do is always building and creating. Always, always. And there's
Instead of tearing down.
and there's so many people who are negative, just like you said, and they're like, it's money, relationships, this and that. They build their future based on their past, right?
Or based of fear on the future.
And it's so funny. I was thinking about this the other day because there's so much abundance in the world. And it's funny saying it out loud, right? People are like abundance, abundance, abundance. Think there's so much money in the world. There's a person I know that's a millionaire that owns a parking lot.
Yeah.
A parking lot. A parking lot.
Let it sit in.
Yeah. You don't need to create an innovative strategy.
Yeah,
right?
you're not gonna be Thomas Edison and create the new light bulb.
And this guy was 7 years old. If you went up to him, made a network with him, and say, "Hey, listen, I know that you're 7 years old. I know that you're retiring. I will take over this whole business for you. I will look after everything. Have me as an employee. Eventually, I want to buy this out from you. I want to have a portion of this." Right? If your family doesn't want to take care, cool. Right? And then boom, you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually. It might not happen next year, may not happen today, may not happen 10 years, but eventually happen. There is so much abundance. There is so much good stuff out there willing for you to take it. But most people don't take it.
I think they just don't know. Like I think there's something wrong, I don't know what it is. I don't know how we got here and so disconnected as a human race. I just think no one told us that it's abundance. No one told us because I mean at the end of the day we are animals and at one point in history we were, it was could we die today? Could we get eaten today? Are we going to starve to death today? Are we going to freeze to death today? So that's got to be in us somehow. And no one has taught us, the structures we built haven't been feeding us the abundance energy. And so I guess we just shrink back to our animal brain in that sense. But I mean, even when it comes to money, like money is so important to me, because not because I want $1 million and a nice car. Sure, awesome. But because money money solves money problems, and then money problems seem to be 99% of everybody's problems. And then when you solve those problems faster, you get to the real problems of life, like the meaning of life, like actually being fulfilled. Like if you can just get past the money problems faster, you can get to the real problems. And that's why it's so important to me. And I just feel like we have forgotten that. And no one tells us that. And abundance is there. And somebody needs to hear that it's, your life's not going to be ruined tomorrow by one bad thing that you do. Like we were 21 and 22, and we owned this gym, and we almost never had money to pay for rent every month, but somehow it worked. Like we've had so many crazy bills. Like maybe we'll do a full podcast on like all the crazy bills and how much money we spent on coaching and craziness, and how we bought all this gym equipment and then never used it and there was no ROI. Like maybe we'll do a podcast on that one day, but we've never had money issues. Even though we haven't had money, it just somehow came because we tried, because we put that energy of abundance and not scared, right? That the rent was due and it got closer to that date and we weren't freaking out.
But it's a law. It's a fundamental law, right?
Mhm.
Like gravity's a law. So if I were to, drop this ring, it doesn't drop 5 times out of 10. It drops 10 times out of 10. And the law of attraction, the law of momentum and inertia, all those things are real, and we constantly invalidate it, right? They're all real stuff, right? If
Just
you're
because you can't see it,
Yeah.
we forget it. And that's I think what I was getting at.
Mm.
You should be able to feel it. We should be able to believe it because we feel it. And there's been such a big disconnect from our guts.
Yep. It's the thing is too is most people are disconnected. I think it's the food that we eat. I think people drink too much. I think people smoke too much. I think people do a lot of things too much. And it's funny. I remember because I smoked weed for a long time. And I think in college I smoked weed. And then eventually I started to win at life. Like I started dating you and I felt good about myself. I started competing in like powerlifting competitions. I started to like build the business I wanted, right? I was like winning at life. And then I went to go smoke weed one day. I'm like, this is terrible. Instead of it taking me high, it started to take me low,
Hmm.
right? And I was like, this makes me feel absolutely terrible. So then I realized, wow, I had a hue of depression and anxiety that I masked with weed and alcohol and overeating, right?
Mm.
So my vices slowly changed. It went from weed to this and then that. And then it's like, oh, you're just not really confronting the real bullshit that you have, right?
Hmm.
You're just kind of hiding behind this these vices, right? And I learned that over time that like there's nothing that gets you higher in life than winning. When you
Yeah.
say you're gonna work out and you get a good workout, boom. When you say you're gonna do your work and you do it, boom. When you say you're gonna do something, you do it. Like there is nothing of a higher high than you being a man or woman of your word. Nothing.
No.
And I see so many people that aren't people of their words, and they mask it with like, the economy, right? Oh, just take a load off
My
and
metabolism.
yeah, take a load off and relax. Like no need to take things so seriously. And people are like, oh, you have enough time. No, there isn't a lot of time. The last decade of my life went like this,
Yeah.
right? People who tell you, oh, there's so much time, they are lying to you. They are lying.
They're lying to themselves. They think that it's true when they say it.
Yeah, it goes by so quickly. If you don't choose to take your goals and your life and take it and grasp it in your hands, your life will flash before your eyes. We like now me and you have Max. I don't know how many times I've gotten advice and people telling us saying, "Oh, now that you have Max, he'll grow up so quickly."
Yeah.
Right? But every other area of life doesn't go by so quickly. Just your kid. No, every area of your life goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Maddie, me and you come to work every Saturday and Sunday, right? I work out every day. I make sure I'm listening to books every day. I know me and you are going to be 40 by the time we know it, 50, 60, 70. And I want to,
With 10 kids.
with 10 kids, with 100 kids. And I know I'm going to look at you and talk about all the amazing stories we had in our 20s, all the amazing stories we had in our 30s and 40s. I listen to people who are older and they tell the same damn stories over and over and over again.
Yeah, they've created no new ones.
I feel for them, right? We have new stories all the time because we're like constantly chasing, right? And I've learned that life is all about momentum. It's all about inertia, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something that's really important to me. If younger Ryan were to listen to this, I hope that you know, like, just moving, physically moving, every other area starts to move, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know what's happening in your relationship, that's kind of shitty, and you don't know what's happening in your financial situation, that's kind of shitty. Focus on you. Whatever
Right.
you feel is appropriate. I just knew that working on myself physically was appropriate first, and then like every other area started to happen. Like, oh, let me start booking more interviews. Let me start doing more sales calls. Let me start reaching out to more business owners, and then like every area of myself got every area of my life got better, which
Hmm.
was wonderful.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think because I think somewhere in everybody there's this all or nothing habit that we formed, right? We're either like super healthy and we're running on the treadmill 2 hours a day and we're eating bland salad and chicken breast, or we are, eating Cheetos in our underwear or something, right? Like there's two extremes. And I think
There's a time and a place for Cheetos in your underwear.
don't take that away from me.
Hmm.
There's definitely a place, but I think if we have two extremes and they're this far apart, I think if I told my younger self to just bring them a little bit closer together and a little bit closer together, and that pendulum, right? The pendulum stops swinging so severely and it just hangs in the middle. And it's that so-called elusive balance that everybody's trying to find. I think balance is not actually balance. Like balance is you choose your imbalance in life, right? You choose what you want to balance today and you choose what you want to balance tomorrow. So then inherently there's some type of imbalance. But I think if we sit down and we say, um, you know, it's not about being perfect. It's about instead of throwing it all away because you made one little mistake, try again, right? Be 1% better tomorrow or be 1% better the next minute, right? Whether it was, I failed an exam in school or, I overate when I shouldn't have, or I skipped a workout when I shouldn't have, or I yelled at you and was snappy with you. It's like every minute, every second is a new opportunity to just rewrite. Just rewrite. Like I can rewrite now and again and right now. Every new second is a new opportunity to rewrite. You don't have to write off the whole day because it was did you have a bad day or did you have a bad moment that now you're milking for the whole day, right? You don't have to have a bad day. You don't have to turn a bad moment into a bad day. You don't have to turn a bad day into a bad week. And you don't have to turn a bad week into a bad month, which then goes by into bad years. And I think that would, for me, at least as a younger kid, that would help me get out of my slump and stop being so hard on myself when I did mess up. Because as kids, I don't know what you were like in your support system. I was a quiet kid, so I never told anybody what was on my mind. I had the support system if I wanted to. I just never did. And so I would take the burden on myself and all the mess ups. I would deal with it and I'd have to learn how to cope with it all by myself. And sometimes you're really, really hard at yourself. And sometimes
Welcome to being a man.
yeah. Have I changed? I did grow a penis inside me. I did. Does that mean I am a
No.
man now?
No. That's
No?
an exclusive club.
Oh, damn it. So close. But so Noah's making me laugh. Noah's laughing behind the camera.
Well, I think the thing that you mentioned, it's a valid point. Success and failure aren't binary.
I
So
don't
it's not
even
yes.
like, I don't even like saying the word failure sometimes. I just use it because everybody understands that word.
It's
But
a
like
word we
failure is just life. Like it's like and good and bad aren't two separate things either. They both just are. And it's the labels that we are giving things that are screwing us up the most. There's no such thing as a good day or a bad day. It was just a day. It was just a day. You put meaning to everything that you wanted to, and you felt the way you did because you created those feelings yourself.
But the point that I wanted to bring up is the fact that we look at things as human beings as binary, black and white, right? Night and day. we're very in tune with the seasons, right? We look at things very binary and success and failure. But success and failure aren't binary. So let's say I want to have a six pack, right? 5 days out of the week, I was successful. And then 3 days or 2 days, I wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means I was more successful than I was a failure,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now let's say you're 300 pounds, you want a six pack. 7 days of the week, you are failing to act how you would if you had a six pack.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is one day act like the person that you want to be. Now you're starting to build the reputation in your head.
Build the momentum that you mentioned.
Yes, build the reputation and your momentum in your head that you're a successful person. And eventually, if you keep focusing on that 1% better, 1% better, now 3 days of the week you're focusing, now 4 days of the week, now 5 days, now you're averaging more successful days than failure days. And now the sliding scale is over here and you're closer to your goals than you think, right?
Same thing with the ratio again, right? Put effort into the ratio. The ratio doesn't have to be completely different. It just has to be like 0.001% different. And you've tilted the ratio. We
Yeah.
forget that it just, as quickly as we fall off and we feel bad, just as quickly we can feel good again. We just forget that when we're in those bad moments.
I feel also that you have a special gift that you've earned with your life.
Growing a penis inside me?
That's not a gift.
It was a gift.
It's the fact that you have your own internal wisdom you listen to. Most people don't have internal wisdom. They constantly are searching for advice. Advice, I need advice, I need advice. Not that that's a bad thing, right? But also is never put anybody on a pedestal because they have the opportunity to look down on you. You can respect people and respect what they've built and respect what they've done with their life, right? But also respect yourself and listen to your own wisdom when you feel like something is a right or wrong.
Yeah, that goes back to our point of our gut, our intuition, our instincts, which have, I think, over the years, especially with the diet and all the chemicals in our food, have literally messed up our gut, like spiritually and physically messed up our gut. And so I think, if somebody's really having a hard time guiding themselves mentally, if you're having a hard time finding a path and relying on yourself and having confidence in your decisions, it could just, there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you don't need medicine. Maybe you don't even need an outside opinion. Maybe it's just your gut is literally so messed up. All your connections are firing wrong. And it could be as simple as, have a little fast, right? Like I love fasting, not because it makes the scale drop super fast. I love fasting because I am so clear and productive. When you don't think about food, when you don't have to worry about what to eat and when to eat, life opens up. Life is more than just your next meal. Life is more than just your next cheat meal. Life is more than just going to dinner with your friends next. It's so much more when you take food out of the equation, or you can start to look at food as fuel a little bit, right? And I was talking at a coaching call last night with our clients in Tremera, and I was saying, if I told you that it was going to take 20 more failures for you to reach your weight loss goal, would you avoid those failures, or would you rush through those 20 failures as fast as possible?
I love that.
And the answer is I
love
rush through the 20 failures faster. If I know that I'm going to get to my goal, I just have these 20 hurdles to get through. And we forget that, right? It's like I have the one hurdle and then I turn around and go back and stop trying. When I was like, no. What if after that one hurdle was the actual goal? And we stop short.
I love that. It's so that's great, Patty. That's a great way to put it in perspective for our clients. I always think to myself the reason why I got and have achieved the life I want is because I failed way more than anybody.
Fail faster is one of the biggest things we say in our weight loss
Yeah.
community. Go fail faster.
Yeah, I'm not telling you not to go cheat and fall off. Go do it. You're a grown adult. Go ahead and fall off your diet. Go ahead and fuck up your marriage. Go ahead and slack off at work. Go fail and then realize, oh, that behavior is not acceptable. And then you quickly learn.
Yeah.
You quickly learn, right?
Yeah.
And so that's so good. I constantly think to myself, the reason why we were able to make $1 million online, the reason why we were able to start a business when we were 20 and 21, the reason why we were able to get the body we wanted is because we failed faster. Most people retreat and never take any steps towards, s- I would say, the fear of being who they are. It's a
Yeah.
fear, right? Like the fear of the unknown.
I think it's also the fear of what do I actually have to give up to get there?
Yeah. We would
Like
we would
think about that.
we would forego. I always love saying this to our team. We would forego the gain in $5 just to not lose $1,
Hmm.
right? I was just thinking about this before, is if I were to lose everything, I would give everything away for free, and then I guarantee you I'd be successful again. If I were to start a lawn care business, I would cut everybody's lawn for free, and I guarantee you someone, hey, I'd pay you. But if I were to ask 10 houses pay me, maybe one would be good. If I was a really good salesman, maybe three. But if I were to give it all away for free for 1 month, I guarantee you I get 7 to 8 people to say yes.
Yeah,
Right?
but you have to give up your comfort of an income for a month in order to make greater rewards the next month. And people don't we don't open up our eyes to look past 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, right? And it's just so funny because when you say it out loud, it's logical. It makes sense.
Yeah, but as human beings, we're selfish. We're self-interested.
Yeah.
We care about ourselves. We talk more about ourselves than we're listening to other people. And when we had over, let's say, 10,000 clients in our career, how many of them do actually know us by asking questions?
Yeah. Zero.
Like most people, we would ask questions about them,
Yeah.
their life. And not that I'm complaining, is most people are self-interested, right? They're so in their own life and their own problems, and that's okay. But I've learned over my lifetime, if you put me on anywhere on God's green earth, I'll triple my worth.
Yeah.
Because I know, focus on other people, listen to other people. If you tell me a story about yourself, if you tell me something about yourself, I will never forget it. I'll always remember it. I'll always remember it because it's important to me, because it's important to you. And that's all business is. It's like I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. And then if you say, "Oh God, I hate being overweight and it affects me," boom, I know you have a problem. I have a solution. And now that you like me and we like each other, hey, I have the solution for you. Who are
Yeah.
you gonna go to, right?
Yeah. And that's something that anybody can use anywhere in life, right? We even use that in our marriage all the time, right? It's like, it's not what am I going to get from you today? It's what can I give to you? And then just by the chain of events, you get something by giving.
Yeah,
And we forget about that. Like we have what we call glow in our community: generosity, love, optimism, and wisdom. And it's just, I call it building up your weight loss karma, right? What have you been actively building up your karma? Doesn't just happen naturally. Have you actively been building up your karma? That's how you create your own luck, right? You and I are really lucky because we created that luck. I think we have God on our side. We've got the universe on our side, but we've we've learned, we're still mastering it. Definitely not masters. We've learned how to manipulate energy so it flows to us and it gives us what we want. That's what success was. That was the definition of success we learned on our audiobook this morning. It was, can you get what you desire? Like, how easily can you get what you desire without impeding on others? That's what success is. How easily can you get the things that you want without it interfering with anybody else? And it comes down to the energy that you put into the universe,
yeah.
right?
I think you brought up a good point. You get better if you have a definite chief aim in life. You get better and better at refining the how energy flows to you.
Yeah.
And I've definitely gotten better at it over time because that's all I focus on.
Yeah,
Right?
literally.
I don't sit at right here after this podcast. I'm not gonna go home and think about, oh, and let me go smoke a bong or let me go take a drink or have a drink. All that stuff. I don't think about that. I think about what am I gonna listen to on the way home in the car ride?
Hmm.
What do I have to clean up? What do I have to organize my life? And some people like I don't want to live a life like that, and that's fine. This life of growth and change, young Ryan, young Madison, is a lifelong task. And I've learned over my life, I do not want to commit to anything if it is not a lifelong task. Health is a lifelong task. Our relationship and marriage and our child is a lifelong task. And
Hmm.
me building a company that makes an impact and helps people is a lifelong task. I am not trying to waste my time and energy on friendships, on family, on issues, politics, whatever it may be that are superficial. It
Yeah.
is lifelong for me.
Yeah.
Everything I get into, I want a lifelong relationship.
Yeah, we
And
had
it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I deal with people who are constantly going from one thing to the next, one thing to the next. They're drifters in life. They're not driven. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
yeah. Yeah, I mean we have a one of our close friends going through a really intense they went through a really intense breakup. And this person didn't want the relationship to end. So we helped coach them through what they should do to get the relationship back. And it required a lot of leadership, a lot of giving without getting very much in return, and a lot of swallowing of your pride and putting aside your ego. And then when they did this, they got exactly what they wanted, but then they were tired. They're like, do I get to stop doing this now? Do I get to not, can I stop being a leader? Like, this is a lot of work. I'm not getting anything in return. I'm like, but did you get the partner back? Did you get what you wanted out of this? Yes. So the answer is no. In order to get what you want, you don't get to stop being a leader. You don't get to just take a break. No one said it was going to be easy, and no one told you that it wouldn't be tiring, right? Like if you want to end up at the top of the mountain, you do have to climb. And sometimes it's exhausting doing it by yourself, and sometimes it's thankless and it's just frustrating to be the only one walking up the mountain. And you're just saying, guys, the view is so great. Please come with me, please. And they're all just standing at the bottom of the mountain. Sometimes it's frustrating, but I would rather do that and suffer that, which I don't even call suffering, but suffer through that alone to be able to enjoy the view at the top of the mountain. And I think the view at the top of the mountain is, wonderful, like monetary things, but it's just, and it's, and it's beautiful, wonderful things like family and enjoying those things. But it's also the view at the top of the mountain is you looking at your true self. That's the best view. Like actually meeting the best version of you.
Yep.
Like I can't even imagine, because I haven't done that yet. You haven't done that yet. Meeting the best version of ourselves that you tried day in and day out to become. That you have a million stories of all the failures that we can laugh about now. Like to actually stand at the top of the mountain and look down and see where you started to the absolute potential that you could ever reach. That's worth all the discomfort
And
that
more.
comes. Yeah, and more than what we're even realize or willing to give up at this moment as we progress. And I don't think people remember why they woke up today. Like that's it. Because we're all going to die. And if you died tomorrow, would you have regrets? And I'm not ready to die tomorrow. I didn't meet that best version of me yet.
That's a good point. I like that. I like the way you put it. It's because I deal with so many people that are in high level roles, and in every area of life, everyone puts on a mask and they'll go, I know myself. I know myself, right? I know exactly who I am. And they're obese, and or they drink too much, and or they smoke too much, and or their marriage failed, and or you don't know yourself.
Yeah, I don't know who I am.
Go jump on a treadmill for 3 hours. You will have thoughts that you have never thought before. And you're like, I can't do this. And you'll start talking to yourself the way you've never talked before. You only really start to get to really know yourself through pain. And what you just said is, most people are like, oh, if I die tomorrow, I'll be ready to go. If you were really encountering death, you'd fight to live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you would fight to live.
You fight
till you're not done.
Yeah, you'd fight to live. And most people, you're not done. That's a good point. And I can candidly say that because I had died in my life. And I was not ready to die. I was really like, I have such a long life to live.
Not today, Jesus.
Yeah, not today. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I mean, I think like if we all just realized how very little we actually know about ourselves, then we can all accept and understand why we all have these crazy emotions all the time. Like, where does anxiety come from? It's because you don't know yourself. Anxiety is the fear of the future, and depression is usually reflecting on the past, right? So if you don't know who you are, the anxiety makes sense. So chill, right? It makes sense that you don't know and the unknown because that's what we're going after.
It's the same thing with anything, though, like obesity. The same thing with a failed marriage. Like you just don't know, and you being so.
I think anxiety is like
oblivious.
it's one of the best tools that Mother Nature has given us to show you that you are in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Or that there's something you're not hearing and listening to, right? Because anxiety is there. It's not. I mean, obviously there's extremes where it becomes debilitating, but it's supposed to be this alarm system that goes, oh, you're nervous. Oh, you're uncomfortable. Are you safe or not? And usually in today's world, we are safe, right? It's that animalistic thing again. Are we about to be eaten? No. No. Okay. So then what is it telling me? What's the alarm then? Oh, I'm just afraid of what comes next. Oh, I'm not going to be able to ever predict what comes next. So why am I wasting my fear? Or I'm going in a direction that is actually scary and my gut knows that I shouldn't be living this way. I shouldn't be taking that direction. I shouldn't be speaking with that person. It may like anxiety, perhaps it's such an epidemic because that's how our lack of connection with our gut has tried to come back out. Maybe that's how our intuition now has tried to come out again, if that makes sense. Anxiety is just our intuition. It's just come out in a really extreme way because because we can't hear anymore. We can't hear it anymore. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, Maddie. Well, I think we should put a bow on it. How long have you been going? We've been going almost an hour.
Um, half a boobie's worth.
It must be. I find it so amazing what females can do, right? You grew Max, now you're feeding him to grow him as well, and it's just crazy, especially because we watch so many birthing videos, and then I delivered Max and all that stuff. You stop sexualizing a woman's body so much, and you just see it as a woman's body, right? And it's
What it
crazy.
was made to do.
It's crazy. It's crazy what we have, how media has made us sexualize the woman's body, even male in a way, right? But
Yeah, just a quick note. We need to see people die more to become not so afraid of death. And we need to see women give birth more. So it's not like this gross sexual thing. And I think if we did those two things, we would become a lot more calm and a lot more in tune as a society. Because before you'd watch your grandparents die in your house, right? Before, in the olden days, graveyards were in the center of the village or beside a church, right? So you'd be encountering death all the time. So it's not the scary, unconscious things we never think about, right? Now, no one has the answer to what happens after death, but at least it's not so hidden. And and that's the same idea with any fear. It can't be hidden. And
yes, that's a really good point. We hide so much, a lot of things, and then we only deal with it when it's in our face, right? But if we kind of face our fears and face the stuff that we're hiding, it tends to not be as big as a problem as we think, right?
right. Or it's just or if it is as big as you think, at least you become proud of yourself for facing it a little bit. Like there's always wins. It's just they're not traditional wins, and we don't view them as wins, so we overpass them. But there's so many little things to make yourself proud that you can do today that you didn't do yesterday. And I think that's really important because it's not about achieving goals. It's about who you become along the way of achieving those goals, the characteristics you develop, the fun stories, the people that you meet. Those are the things you can take with you, right? But most importantly, it's who you become along the way to your goal because that's who you take to your grave with you. You can't take anything else.
The last door, death's door, only one person can go through it, and that's you, right? And I heard a really good quote. The reason why people get married is so that you can have someone witness you.
Yep.
That's all we want, is we want to be witnessed. We want to be seen. We want to
Yeah.
be heard. We want to be felt. And so that's the reason why we get married, right? Obviously to procreate and do those things and provide comfort, but the biggest thing is to be seen. And that's why
To have a
marriages fall
witness.
apart. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel connected, right?
Yeah.
But
Witness me go through this life.
yeah, witness me.
Witness me grow. Witness me struggle. Witness me overcome. Truly see me and the journey that I'm going on.
Yeah, actually witness me.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, everything I always do, it's out of selfish reason. That last door in life, death's door, you open alone. Who is that person? Who is that future you opening that door and then closing it? Only you can answer that. I can't paint on your canvas and tell you what you need to be, what Max needs to be, what my team needs to be. Only you know that. And that's so powerful to me. All the time I ask myself, like, why do I even want to do that? That's what media told me to do. I didn't even like doing it. Is that Ryan's last final door, who he wants to be? And I constantly ask myself that question. but I think we should put a bow on it. I'm losing my voice.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Max, guest appearance again. And we will see everybody on the next episode.
See you in the next episode, guys.